Nice rainy day today. Very misty, and I've been cooped up all day doing some work, but I'm finally out getting some walking in. And I think it's kind of the perfect environment for the topic that I want to talk about. Talk about something that's very personal to me, affects me very deeply. Not so much so directly, but just because of other people. I want to talk about addiction, right? I want to talk about more so just my personal experience with it, like seeing other people go through it. Specifically, my mom. She is an alcoholic, basically throughout my entire life, right? And I'm more so like realizing like just how much that has affected her, like recently. Like just how bad it's gotten. And I wanted to talk about addiction today, just because not only did I see a video and like it made me like think about it, I wanted to more so talk about how it is that it affects people, and how no matter how far deep you might be in a hole, right, crawling back up is still it's very hard, but it is possible. And I wanted to talk about that, just that idea. So, yeah, my mom, she is an alcoholic, self-admitted alcoholic, has gotten a lot of help. And, while she still drinks, it's not as bad as it was before, right? So she'll always be one, right? It got to the point, like, around COVID time, like 2020, 2021, where, like she became like fully dependent on alcohol, right? Like if she didn't have a drink, she couldn't really function, right? And it was really bad. I was going through a lot of stuff myself, right? But seeing my mom basically die in front of me, like that's literally how I was thinking. Like, I was mentally preparing myself when I was like 16, 17, still doing junior year, the hardest year for me, on top of seeing my mom going through this horrible thing, right, on top of the abuse that was also happening in the house. It was so much stuff going on, right? And the way that I am, I try to look at things as objectively as possible, because I know my mom has had a very troubled life herself. She's gone through a lot of stuff. She's gone through a lot of abuse of her own, right? Growing up, and then my my father, who also abused her, but she, whether it was because she didn't have the capability, or she felt like she couldn't, she couldn't leave, right? I still don't know the full story. I can't speak on that, but she stayed with this abusive man, and I unfortunately had to deal with that, because also, while I did have 2 other siblings, I was the only one who was living with my parents while they were at their worst, essentially. And so I was the one taking in the full front of all the BS that was happening all the time. And it sucked so bad. The worst thing for me was literally seeing my mom like just lose so much weight. Like, she became very frail. And like it felt like if I put enough pressure on her, like she could break an arm. Like, that's how frail it looked. And it was so sad, and obviously, I did feel bad for my mom. Also was pretty upset as well, because it's like, and keep in mind, I am a kid, right? I'm still going through a bunch of stuff. I was just like, what is it like? How did this even happen, right? How did it even get to this point? And, I think about all the times where my siblings and I, we would tell my my mom especially to actually like just leave, right? But she never listened, right? Obviously. But I was just so confused, like how did it even get to this point? And that's another thing, right? It's very easy to look at someone and just like, especially addicts, it's very easy to look at addicts and just like really just to dislike them or hate them. Like, oh my god, look at that addict, look at that drug addict, look at that alcoholic, right? Like, so sad, I wouldn't want to be like them, right? It's very easy to say that, right? As someone who is not an addict, right? I'm not an addict, right? To the same degree, right? I'm sure if you're watching this, you might have even thought that yourself, right? It's so easy to look at someone, especially addicts, just because you don't know their story. You don't know their story. You don't know the root cause of how it is that things became this way, because there's always a cause. There's always a root cause for why things come or get to a point where people are like either dependent on drugs, or they get to a point where maybe they're in a dangerous situation with their bodies, with their health, or maybe, unfortunately some people, just pass away, right? There's always a root cause to it, right? And I've said this before, right? You should never judge a book by its cover. I especially feel that way about addicts, because you never know how troubled their lives might have been. You never know what kind of situations they might have gone through, whatever abuse, trauma, neglect, whatever it might be. You don't know. You can't possibly know that, because you are not that person, right? And then they chose this substance as a way of escaping their mind, right? Escaping the horrors of their mind to feel more comfortable in their being, right? To the point where they can actually function to a slight degree, right? And I'm talking about my own experience, right? Having an alcoholic mother. Obviously, this is very brief. Like, I could go on and on and on about this, right? So much stuff that's happened, right? But at the end of the day, obviously I'm not my mom. I just had to deal with the repercussions of the later stages of alcoholism, right? And while my mom is thankfully in a state of recovering, right? At least from the worst stages of it, right? It still sucks, Like, I don't interact with my mom nearly as much as I used to, because I don't live with her as much. And sometimes it is hard to talk with her just because of other reasons. But just purely from the stance of just the fact that she is an alcoholic, right? I understand that she has been through a lot of pain, and she put a lot of that pain onto me. But I'm looking at it now in hindsight, like, it wasn't always her, right? That was how she was as a result of the drugs being a part of her body. That wasn't her. And again, this is just as, I guess, me talking right now. This is just kind of me rationalizing everything, trying to truly like come to terms with it, because I never really could, just because there was so much anger and sadness that stuck with me, just because of all the stuff that she did to me. Like, I'm like, I know I'm being rather vulnerable. I'm not being really specific. I'll give you one example, right? There was a time where she, like, I was going through it. I was really going through it, and I guess I really needed my mom. And I told her, right? And she said that she was going to come down to where I was living, right? And she did. But at the time, I was just living with my dad, right? I was going through school. I was just living with dad, and I just really wanted mom to be there. But then she came down there, and like, she just got into a whole bunch of like arguments or fights with my dad, and I felt like, because she told me she was coming down to see me, but it never, like, that was not her main priority. right? Her main priority was to fuck with my dad, fuck with my dad. Whether it was him doing it first or her doing it first, I wouldn't know. But just getting into it with him and just not being able to be in her right mind, that still hurts me to this day, and there's much more to it, right? But yeah, I know that it wasn't always her. I know that it was the drugs taking effect in her body. I know that it's very easy to look at just in my case, my mom, and being like, man, like, you're just an alcoholic, it's really sucks. And I know that's not true, right? I know that's not true, because while for most of my life she has been an alcoholic, whether it was to a lesser degree or she just hit it, right? I know that underneath all of the pain that she went through, there is still a very beautiful soul, very beautiful person that has not unfortunately had the chance to truly showcase themselves in a way that is super beneficial to them, right? And I know I'm just kind of yapping and on, right? I wanna leave you with this, right? If maybe you have like a similar adjacent story, maybe you've dealt with addiction yourself, maybe you dealt with addicts in your life, right? I want you to understand, it's not like, it's very easy to look at them and dislike them, but you have to understand that there's always a root cause. There's always a root cause to the pain, to the suffering, to the addiction that they've gone through. There was always something else underlining, right? However, as much as it might suck, you have to not take it personally. You have to not take any pain that they're suffering, that they might put into you, or maybe in your life, your addictions have affected other people, right? You can't take it personally, right? And I've dealt with addiction to myself in different forms, right? And I know how they affected my life, right? And I'm here to tell you, right, anyone else who might have suffered through different forms of addiction, it is possible to change, right? Like I was saying earlier, it's very easy to keep going deeper and deeper into a hole, but it's very hard to crawl out of that hole. But I'm telling you right now, it is possible. It is possible, right? It is painstaking. It is grueling. It is awful, right? To admit that you might need help, to admit that, to ask for people to help you, right? Or to even come to it onto your own terms, like realizing that these things might be hurting you, right? No matter what form of addiction it is, whether it's drugs, alcohol, lust, no matter what it might be, it is possible to crawl out of it and to be able to see your life in a different way, right? But it has to come, but it starts with understanding the root cause of why it is that you fell into this habit in the first place, right? You have to understand the root cause, right? Because without understanding, then you're always gonna be stuck in this loop. Of just doing the things to help you escape the mind, right? And I'm thankful that I'm able to, work on myself, because a lot of people can't. A lot of people constantly fall back into their habits, right? Why do you think so many people relapse, right? Because it's hard to not do things that that help you escape your mind, right? It's hard for some people, especially people who've dealt with a lot of trauma, abuse. It's very hard to deal with that constantly, right? And so they'd rather just numb themselves, right? I get it, but it is possible, right? Just have to understand the root cause of it, man. And so this is my final my final thing that I want to leave you with, right? Addiction is hard. Addiction is very hard, for everyone involved. The addict, the people that are in the addict's life, doesn't matter who it is, right? It's always hard, right? But no matter who you are in an addiction story, whether you are the addict, whether you're the person who is with the addict, right? First thing first, right? Understand the root cause of why it is that you fell into these habits. And if you're the person dealing with an addict yourself, don't take things personally, because it's not them. It's the drug manifesting in their body, right? I know this personally. I know this in my own life. And that's why I feel more confident to say it. Right? And even if anything I just said doesn't resonate with you, just understand that everyone has a story, right? And instead of judging people for the state that they're in right now, maybe try to come to an understanding that maybe they are the way they are now because of the experiences that they've had, that you not being that person will never get to know unless you're actively like in their lives, right? Yeah, that's what I got today. It's a bit of a different message. I just felt like I wanted to share it. Very, very hard thing for me to even talk about, to even come to terms with, just because it's so recent for me. But it is possible. It is possible to get help, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. But you have to understand the root causes, right? Yeah, that's what I got today. I hope I was able to help someone. I hope maybe give some perspective for someone. And yeah, that's what I got today. If you're seeing this, I love you. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And make sure to take care of yourself, okay? Have a good one.